You ever had a day start so bad it feels like a punchline to a sick cosmic joke? Because let me tell you, when the HOA president, Priscilla Hartwell, strutted down my dock in high heels at sunrise, dragging a sheriff's deputy behind her, intent on stealing my 38-foot patrol boat with a phony lean well, that was the moment I realized some folks really are born to be villains. You think I was making this up, right? But that's how my morning started. Fog curling off the Oregon coast, the smell of diesel and salt and old kelp in the air, me out there polishing brass on my old Coast Guard cutter, when doom itself came clicking down the dock. I poured 3 years, every drop of sweat, every dime my Uncle Pete left me, into that boat. And there I was, just minding my business. When those heels hit the boards, it sounded less like shoes and more like a death sentence. Ever had your HOA threaten to hijack something that meant everything to you over some petty nonsense? If you have, you know that cold, crawling rage. And if you haven't, let me tell you, it's a special kind of humiliation. Maybe you're watching from somewhere far from the Pacific, but crazy power trips in HOAs are their own kind of storm, no matter where you live. So who am I? Name's Marcus Reed, Navy vet, 24 years fixing electronics. Widower since cancer took Sarah from me, and the accidental owner of a waterfront cottage I never thought I'd get to enjoy. Uncle Pete left me this battered slice of Sunset Cove, Oregon, a place where the waves slam black rocks, and the air itself tastes like freedom. That cutter? She was my lifeline. I rebuilt her from the hull up, electrical, teak brass, every inch of fight to heal my grief with the sharp bite of varnish and the satisfaction of doing something right with my own hands. Sunset Cove, on paper, is paradise. About 150 homes, millionaires on every block, a marina where folks wave but mostly keep to themselves. Of course, the HOA comes with it. Sunset Cove Homeowners Association. Mandatory, just like a tumor you didn't know you had. You know the drill, monthly dues, rules about grass height, trash cans, all that. But at first it was fine. 2 years I kept my head down, shared crab I caught, helped folks with busted wiring, just enjoying being a nobody. Then Priscilla moved in. Imagine a real estate agent who thinks she's royalty. Impeccable white capris, sunglasses that probably cost more than my boat's engine, a BMW as white as a snowstorm, and an attitude like she's judging a beauty contest nobody else entered. I later heard she got run out of some California gated community for, get this, overzealous enforcement. So she shows up, campaigns for HOA board, talks about property values and community stewardship like she's Moses coming down from the mountain. She always talked about herself in the third person. Priscilla believes Priscilla thinks like, come on. She wins by 6 votes. Enough new money types by her keep the rabble out shtick. And suddenly, the tyranny begins. My crime? Planting native Oregon grape bushes. Not kidding. Legal, gorgeous, pollinator-friendly, and literally encouraged by the HOA's own bylaws. But no, I get a certified letter, unauthorized vegetation modification. $200 fine, fix it or else. I actually laughed. This stuff grows wild everywhere. But I checked the rules. Native Pacific Northwest vegetation is encouraged. I called her up, figured it'd be a misunderstanding. But no, she told me, in that voice you get when someone's a little too in love with being in charge, Priscilla has interpretation authority over all landscaping decisions. She hung up on me before I could finish my sentence. That's when I started digging. Turns out, in her first year, she fined 17 people. Always $200, always interpretation authority. Trash cans, mailbox colors, boats, you name it. Meanwhile, her golf buddies got warnings, no fines. The money all went into HOA accounts managed directly by her. 3 weeks after Bushgate, she tried something new, maritime piracy. Showed up on my boat, uninvited, running those nails along the rails like she owned the place. Notice of commercial vessel violation, she said. Military surplus not allowed. $500 per day penalties if I didn't remove my boat. Except, again, the bylaws said nothing about this. Recreational watercraft permitted. The word commercial didn't even appear. But Priscilla's dangerous not because she's dumb, but because she's cunning. She hired a maritime lawyer, found some weird legal gray area about surplus boats, tried to argue my cutter wasn't recreational, tried to weaponize confusion. So I did what Navy training teaches, gather better intel. I drove to the Coast Guard station, showed Chief Martinez her letter. He laughed so hard he nearly shot coffee out his nose. Son, once you've got recreational registration, that boat's a pleasure craft. Period. Turns out, I wasn't alone in my war. My neighbor Harold, 3 houses down, had been documenting every board meeting like a CIA archivist. Audio, financials, color-coded charts. Elena, a property law attorney, got fined for growing basil and oregano, dangerous herbs apparently. She was furious enough to offer free legal help. Bobby, the marina's mechanic, knew boats inside and out and said he'd testify mine was legal as sunrise. But Priscilla escalated, sent a certified letter to every homeowner, property lien warning, claimed I owed $2,700. The fear spread fast. Neighbors worried she'd steal their houses. Elena explained, not legally, but a fraudulent lien clouds your title, forces you to spend thousands to clear it. That's when I realized this wasn't about landscaping or boats. This was organized extortion. The next morning, I declared war. She started forging board meeting minutes, duct taped them to my door, claimed emergency sessions nobody attended, banned my boat. But I knew forgeries served enough time analyzing intelligence to spot a fake. Harold's signature looked like a toddler scrawled it in crayon. Other board members were out of state. Susan, another board member, laughed so hard she choked on her tea. This is chicken scratch during an earthquake. But Priscilla filed that fake lien anyway at the county office. Official on paper. She'd crossed into real criminal territory. The next HOA meeting was a madhouse, 200 people in a room built for 50. Harold stood up, waving the forged papers. Priscilla tried to bluff. Emergency authority supersedes normal procedures. Elena demanded she cite the rules. Priscilla froze, sweating. That's when Bobby, all 6 feet 4 inches of him, stood up. You want dangerous boats? Let's talk about the Hendersons. My man's cutter is cleaner than anything here. The room exploded, everyone yelling about their own finds and horror stories. Priscilla sat there, frozen. Now offense. I hired a forensic accountant, Jennifer Walsh. She found Priscilla had stolen $67,000 over 3 years, laundered through a fake company, using stolen funds to pay her husband's legal bills for an SEC investigation. That's when I called the FBI, the Attorney General, the IRS. Priscilla lost it completely. Someone vandalized my boat, slashed lines, carved Die Nazi into the hull, smashed brass fittings. Then she started weaponizing law enforcement. 6 bogus police reports in 4 days. I was apparently a terrorist, drug dealer, disturbance, you name it. Deputy Martinez, who'd become my unofficial babysitter, just shook his head. Either you're the worst criminal ever or someone's wasting my time. The war peaked at another emergency meeting. 250 people jammed in, angry as hornets. Harold dropped a manila folder. 3 years of evidence, forgery, theft. Priscilla's husband, Reginald, tried to threaten Harold. Bobby got between them. Touch him, and you'll be eating your own teeth. Elena stood up. As of this morning, Priscilla Hartwell is under federal investigation. Priscilla collapsed. But the real twist? Reginald had been secretly recording her for 8 months. Confessions, schemes, everything. He turned it over to the FBI to save himself. Her own words, she'd never read the HOA bylaws, didn't realize fraud meant automatic removal and triple damages. Elena ran the math. $350,000 liability. More than her house, more than their savings. Every neighbor she'd robbed was now her creditor with federal law on their side. But Priscilla wasn't done. She slashed my fuel lines, tried to turn my boat into a floating bomb. Security footage caught her red-handed. Elena filed attempted murder charges. Then came the full-on smear campaign. Fake flyers, doctored photos, even fake federal crime reports. Within 24 hours, my home was crawling with federal agents. Terrorism, weapons, IRS, you name it. They found nothing, and finally, Rodriguez, the lead agent, said, "Either you're the most sophisticated terrorist ever, or someone's abusing the system." The community, instead of turning on me, united. Even the most passive neighbors realized Priscilla was a monster. Mrs. Patterson, usually shy, stood up and roared. This woman's brought terrorism investigators to our doorstep. The whole room exploded. But Priscilla had one last card. She blackmailed the entire community, threatening to leak everyone's identities if we didn't drop charges. Turns out, she'd already sold them to an overseas syndicate, funded her escape plans. The FBI got involved, warrants, arrests, an international manhunt. She burned down the community center, tried to intimidate witnesses, sabotage cars and boats, even tried to kidnap Mrs. Patterson. Only Bobby's quick tackle saved her. Priscilla was arrested mid-kidnapping, screaming that she'd built the community, that we were nothing without her. The final reckoning came in federal court. Satellite trucks, residents packed in, a judge who wasn't messing around. 27 federal charges: racketeering, arson, kidnapping, terrorism, fraud. Priscilla snapped, started screaming conspiracy. The judge remanded her without bail. I finally got to stand and say it. Justice without mercy is called consequences. The applause was thunderous. Priscilla's sentence? 25 years, no parole, $1.2 million in civil judgments. Lost her home, her car, everything. Her family ruined, her name toxic. Our community rebuilt itself. HOA reforms, audits, term limits, transparency. Elena became Oregon's top HOA abuse attorney. Mrs. Patterson started a watchdog league. Even Interpol joined the fight, smashing the syndicate Priscilla had funded. 6 months on, I'm not just a guy fixing his boat. I help run the city council now, championing transparency. Our annual Harbor Heritage Festival draws crowds. Kids clamber aboard my cutter, learning about courage, evidence, standing up to bullies. Every time I smell salt and diesel, I remember what we accomplished. We weren't extraordinary, just stubborn, careful, and sick of being pushed around. So I gotta ask, what's your HOA horror story? Drop it below. Let's build an army of neighbors who refuse to bow to little tyrants. And if you ever wonder if you can make a difference, well, let me tell you, sometimes the only thing standing between order and chaos is one stubborn soul who won't back down.